welcome back. My name is Judith. I am one half of the Nutty Nitty Sisters. Together with my sister Julie, we create videos sharing our love of all things fibery and the fiber arts. If this is your first time clicking on one of our videos, welcome. We appreciate it and hope you enjoy what you see. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back time and time again. We certainly do appreciate that as well. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It doesn't cost anything. Just click the subscribe button and you will join our fiber community here on the YouTubes. If you do enjoy the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. A like does help us spread the fiber love. Today, I am sharing with you all of my projects that I completed during the year of 2023. So this was quite reflective for me to look back and see all the things that I had completed, and I'll share my thoughts with the projects, and at the end, what my thoughts going forward in my knitting journey and what I hope to accomplish in 2024. So I set a goal for myself at the beginning of 2023. Ravelry has a challenge function where you can challenge yourself to complete so many projects during the course of the year. And I wanted to take it a little easy. In 2022, I really pushed and did 51 projects, and I wanted to take it a little bit more chill in 2023, and I set a goal of 30. I did complete 36 projects during the course of the year, so I met my goal. So we will go through each one of those in the order in which I completed them. I'll share with you the patterns, the yarns that I completed, and my thoughts on each project. So I hope you enjoy, and let's move over to the other side of the room where all the projects are. Well, here we are on the other side of the origami room on the day bed, and it's my cozy little spot. I've got all of my knits from 2023 around me. So I will share with you the pattern, the yarn, the completion time, all the things, and hopefully it won't take too long. So the first pattern that I completed in 2023 rather, I actually started November 4th of 2022 and I finished it on January 8th. It is the Anthology Throw by Helen Stewart, and I made mine out of just scraps and minis and magic knot balls and just scraps and things that I had on hand. This is a great Advent knit. It actually is meant to be an Advent knit. I just started, and it starts in the middle. I just started and knit until I ran out of the yarn and then cast on, added the next skein. So this is just a Mod Podge of yarns, mostly done roving and a little bit of a Yarn to Die For design. There is a lovely sort of not really a picot edge, but a kind of lacy edge. However, this is so huge, I have not yet had a chance to block or wash it. It is gigantic. It sits on the back of a chair in the living room. Usually it's just something that I either throw on my shoulders or over my legs when it gets chilly in the evening. So it hasn't had occasion to be washed yet because I don't have a space big enough to block it. I have seen projects where the diameter, it's like 60 to 75 inches across. So it's a huge, massive blanket. I am hoping this summer to get it out on the deck to get it properly blocked and really be able to show off that lacy edging. So that is the Anthology Throw by Helen Stewart. The next pattern I do not have here. It is the Convertible Thrummed Mittens by Emily Leek. I started it on January 9th and completed it on January 14th. It was very quick to knit, super fun, very engaging. It is knit out of hand spun that I got in a Fiber of the Month Club box in December of 2021. This kit came with, or this Fiber of the Month Club box came with a yak down as well, that's what I made the thrums out of. So that was a neat new technique for me to try this that year. I'd never made Thrums before, nor knit with Thrums, and it was very, very fun indeed. I don't have the mittens because I have a box of mittens, a box of hats, and a box of neckwear by my front door that anyone who is welcomed to take and use if they need warmth. And there was one evening where the kids had come during the day and it got very cold at night. So Dylan chose them to take to keep her hands warm, and they've not been returned yet. But I hope you enjoyed the pictures of them, and I enjoy them. They are super warm. The only thing I do need to do is I need to find a way to keep the mitten portion secured, because they do tend to sort of skate over your fingers and open up when you don't necessarily want them to you want to keep your hands warm. So I need to find some way to attach them to the palm of the mitten. So that is the convertible thrummed mittens. The next pattern that I completed was the Brioche Cables Hat by Yarnspirations Design Studio. I started this on January 31st and completed it on February 2nd. And it was basically some leftover acrylic yarn that I had from making a Doctor Who scarf for my daughter. I wanted to practice my brioche, and I haven't done a lot of brioche, so I thought I needed to practice some. And it did come out really neat. It was a great way to practice the technique. However, I did not gauge swatch, and it did come out much bigger than I expected. But it's functional, it keeps the head warm, and it helped me keep that technique fresh. So that is the Brioche Cables Hat. Next is my Bright Days blanket by Ria Janice Kaufman. And this is knit out of Good Karma yarn, Good Karma Farm and Soap Company yarn. And this was a kit that my sister gifted to me, and I absolutely love this blanket. It is my security blanket. It follows me wherever I go. It desperately needs a glean. There is a little bit of pilling. This yarn is so incredibly soft and squishy and warm and amazing. That softness will result in some pilling. It's just like a sweater though. It just needs to be gleaned. And I love this blanket. It's likely going to go in the camper for the summer because the colors are sort of cool and funky like my camper. And with the leftovers from that blanket, I made a pillow. So the pattern comes with a large size, and there's also a baby blanket size. The squares are just a little bit smaller for the baby blanket size, and so I used that as the size for the squares, and I just did 4 on the front and 4 on the back, and then stuck a pillow form inside. The pillow form is probably a little bit too big. You see it's kind of peeking through, but it makes a cool little throw pillow that matches the blanket, so it's perfect. I started on November 5th and finished that on February 26th. The next pattern is a pattern that I also do not have. My daughter's car is in the shop, so she has my car, and it is in the trunk of my car. It is the Wave Market Bag by Ashley, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Konechny. I really enjoyed this pattern. It was super fun to knit. It's got an engaging wave kind of lacy stitch, and the yarn that was used was a hand spun yarn from a Fiber of the Month Club box from June 22. I can't remember what the content of the yarn was. I think it had some silk and maybe some sea cell or something like that. But it was super fun to knit. It was fun to spin too, because it was a nice slippery but kind of grippy too. I'm not really sure how to explain the actual fiber, but I love knitting it. I love the bag. I think I messed up the handles of it. The top of the bag doesn't open quite like it should, but it's fine. I'm not ripping it out. I'm not changing it. It's perfect for putting round fruits in and then just filling the bag up with like apples or oranges or what have you. So I love it, and it's in my car as a grocery bag. And I started that on February 27th and finished it on March 2nd. So it was a pretty quick knit too. The next pattern is also not here because it was gifted. I made the My Little Secret Crop by Jessie Made Design for my daughter Samantha. She had requested a sort of a crop top tank top. And so I started this on March 12th and finished it on March 19th. It was such a quick knit and super fun. I'm not a fan of ribbing, but this ribbed top went really quickly and it was perfect. It came out looking so small, but with the ribbing, it stretches so much and it fits her perfectly. It was so nice. The yarn I used was a scrap yarn just out of the scrap basket. I actually had to use two different scraps. One was white and one was just a little bit off-white, so it kind of has a two-toned look to it. And it just came out so perfectly. I will definitely knit this again for her. The next project that I knit was a Shiftalong by Andrea Mowry. I love knitting this hat. I think I have 4 now in the hat box by the front door. This one was knit with a Malabrigo Arroyo in the colorway Escarias and with some hand spun as the colory blips. And I really, really enjoyed knitting this hat. So here she is. I really enjoyed spinning the yarn as well. It was a very colorful yarn that I stripped out the colors and then spun them sort of fractally style. I tried to keep some of the color repeats. There are a few overlaps you can see here, but it created a really nice kind of rainbowy effect to the hat. So it is a super fun knit. It is a lovely hat to wear. This is often my go-to as I'm scampering out the door. This is the one that I grab most frequently to put on because it is so toasty warm and such a fun color. It goes with anything. So that is my Shiftalong. And the next project I also do not have here because it was a wedding gift for my husband's friend Dave's son Isaac and his wife. It is the Tree of Life Afghan, the knit version by Nikki Epstein. And it was knit in Briggs & Little Regal in the washed white colorway. And this was an amazing knit. It was so fun. The charts were easy to read. It was fairly quick to accomplish. I started it on March 18th and I finished it on May 26th. I believe they were married on like June 10th. So I got it done in plenty of time. And it was a lovely knit. I would definitely recommend it. It is beautiful and cozy, and I'm hoping it'll be an heirloom in their life for many years to come. The next project is actually sort of 2 projects. I knit these in tandem. This was an Advent kit that Julie had given me for Christmas last year. And so on April 2nd, I cast on the Scattering Petals Cowl by Dana Rae Makes, and I really loved making this cowl. It is so fun. The pattern is so engaging, and it's knit in the round, so you can see it's just all the way around. It's kind of a tube. And then it is grafted together when you get back to your beginning of round, which her method of grafting is so good. I can't even find it. I think it might be here, but it is, her instructions are just so good. It came out beautifully. It is warm. It is super, super cozy. And squishy and amazing. So this is made with a lot of different types of fibers, or a lot of different types of yarns. There was Mama Jess Knits, Just Yarn, Fiber Seed, Audience Wool, Pudding, Leap of Faith yarn. There was just a ton of different yummy yarns that Julie gifted me in that Advent. So also, while I was doing this, I cast on the Bear Paw Socks by Andrea Mowry. Now, in hindsight, I probably could have done, there is a Scattering Petals sock pattern I probably could have done by Dana Ray Makes as well. But this is DK weight yarn, and this was the first pattern I thought of. I think Andrea Mowry had just released these as well, so I kind of had the whole FOMO thing going on, and I made them super long. So I believe I started at the toe. Yes, they start at the toe, and then you knit up. Unfortunately, I did knit them quite long. These are very long. They're a little bit too long for my feet. And then I made them super long so they would go all the way up to my knees. They do. The feet are a little bit big, but I wear these in the camper. They are my camper slippers. So before I go to bed, it's quite chilly in the camper some nights. I don't like to run the heat too hot. And so these are nice to have on my feet, and when I get up in the morning, they're just cozy and lovely. So those were started April 2nd and finished on June 8th. And yes, those are ends that I still haven't woven in. But those are what I did with my Advent for 2022. The next knit was a super fun knit. It is made out of hand spun, and I spun this yarn in the camper, and I knit these garments in the camper as well. So they're kind of my camper knits. The first one is Maine Morning Mitts by Clara Parks, and I really do love these. They were super fun to make, super easy to make. I made them on a US 8. I started them on June 8th and finished them on June 9th. 1 day knit. Super amazing. This fiber was so neat. It was very bright, a lot of colors, and I was really concerned that the yarn would end up very muddied, but it muddied in a good way. So the mitts turned out really great. And then I also knit the Reykjavik Lite hat by Knitty Pine with the same yarn. And so this was knit from June 9th to June 13th. Did not take long at all for this to knit up as well. And they were super fun. They are lovely, lovely knits. And this is probably the second most grabbed set that I put on when it's cold and I'm heading out the door. I love these. The next pattern that I knit was also a hand spun yarn, and this was a Fiber of the Month club box from December of 22. And the theme, or I guess the look of the yarn, was Starry Starry Night. The pattern was suggested in the box, and it was Winter Moondeer Hat by Lisa McFetridge. And she reached out to me and actually featured one of my photos in a pattern. I've only had that happen a couple of times, so I was super excited. So here is the pattern. It was so much fun. It has a Latvian braid, which was another new technique for me. And it was so well done. It was so well worded. It was super easy to knit. And the chart was very well done. It was so easy to manage, and I love this hat. It is super cute. Fits like a glove, and I just absolutely love everything about it. The blue really does have that starry night feel, and then the white, the suggestion in the pattern was, I believe it was for Malabrigo, but I used a hand spun as well for the white, and it just turned out so perfect. I love everything about this hat. It is so fun. So that is Winter Moondeer Hat. I started that on June 17th and finished it on June 19th. So all that color work only took 2 days. It's such an engaging knit. I loved it. The next pattern I also do not have because it was gifted, and I only have one photo of it. It is the Broken Stripes Hat and Cowl by Allison Manning. And this was a very fun knit. I originally had knit it for Mike, but I ended up knitting him something different. So I gifted this set to my daughter's boyfriend, Steven, and the hat and the cowl look very similar. The pops of color in the cowl were made with 100 Ravens Yarn Company. They're these little pops of color. It's like 75 grams, but there's like 15 different colors in this little baggie of little pops. The only thing was that the pops of color weren't quite enough to go all the way around the cowl. I think they went around like twice, but some of them weren't enough for the entire blip. So I had to kind of add in a second color. So I love the yarn. I'm a huge fan of their yarn. Those pops probably weren't the best choice for that particular project, but I made it work and it turned out great, and Steven loved it. So that's good. I started that on June 20th and I finished it on June 25th, both the hat and the cowl. The next project was another hand spun project. This was Summer Secret Crop by Jessie Mead Designs, and this one I did make for myself. Beautiful yarn, and I was so pleased with how the hand spun turned out. The pattern that was suggested with this Fiber of the Month Club box was a chevron tank, which I didn't think I'd have enough yardage for. It turns out I had plenty because I had a lot left. But I do love this, this tank. It's got a crisscross back. It fits great. I probably could have done it just a little bit longer. That's the only thing I don't like about it is that it is a little short, but I think with a high-waisted pair of jeans and a sweater or a cover-up, this is great. And I did wear this a couple of times this summer. The yarn it's very soft. It's next to skin all right, but I do find the blue here has a bit of Stellina or Angelina. I think it's Angelina in it. And that does have a little tiny bit of a prickle factor on your more sensitive bits. But other than that, it is a lovely, lovely knit. I started that on May 23rd and I finished it on June 30th. The next pattern was a pattern that I had picked up during the Maine yarn cruise with my sister Julie last year in 2022. And I began knitting this on June 26th, finished it on July 17th. So for a top, it went quite quickly. It is knit in, it's Derecho by Allison Green, and it's knit in Barocco Remix Light. Here she is, and I love this sweater. The Barocco Remix Light is a recycled yarn, so it's got a lot of different things in it. It's got cotton and linen and wool and everything. It's literally everything. And I love this top. It is so perfect. It can be dressed up. It can be worn like a t-shirt. It is just so amazing. The yoke was super engaging. And just as I started to get a little bit bored with the body, it was done because there are no sleeves, just these little cap sleeves. And it was so super easy to knit. I love this. I will definitely knit more of these. And I think I will knit them in the same yarn in different colors. It was so perfect. I love everything about this pattern. So that was Derecho by Allison Green. The next pattern I do not have because it was a gift. It is the, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but it's Loughrea Shawl, I think, by Iranine Designs. And this was knit with Araucania Huasco cotton in the color greens. I got this yarn during the yarn cruise at Cashmere Goats several years ago. It was on their clearance shelf. It was super cheap, so I bought a bunch of it. I had originally wanted to make a sweater for my grandkids, and the yarn just didn't seem to be right for any pattern until this pattern came along, and it's perfect for this pattern. I made this for my mother's 80th birthday. And although it's not the part of the pattern, I modified just a little bit and added some beads at the end, at the last little lacy bit. And the beads are, there's 3 different colors. There are 4 green beads that signify myself and my 3 sisters. There are 2 crystal beads that signify my 2 brothers. And then there is 1 blue bead that signifies a sibling that we never got to meet. And I love giving my mother gifts that touch her heart, and it sounds silly, but I like to make her cry in a good way. And so this ticked all the boxes. She loved it. She looks great in green, and I don't think she wears enough of it. And so this was just the perfect shawl for her, and I hope she will enjoy it for many years to come, and perhaps I can knit her another one for her 90th. I knit this, I started it on July 20th and I finished it on August 14th. So I finished it 5 days before her birthday. Just made it. The next pattern that I finished was my Plain Jane Candy Cane socks. So these socks were begun on September 25th of 22 and were not finished until August 17th of 23. In September of 22, I spent a week in the hospital for some cardiac issues that I was having, and I finished a sweater and I had nothing else to knit. So I sent my husband off to the yarn store to pick up a Christmassy skein of yarn from West Yorkshire Spinners, and he did well. He got me Christmassy. It wasn't the color that I wanted because they were out, but this is the color Candy Cane, and they are perfect. I really enjoyed, they're just plain, it's a plain stockinette with a heel flap and gusset heel. And I really enjoyed the knit. I enjoyed the yarn. It was super easy. Not a lot of issues. There was a few places, a few times that it split a little bit on me, but it is a nice, durable, hard-working yarn. I think these socks are going to be in my wardrobe for many, many years to come. The next pattern I knit called the Shadow Box Socks by Helen Stewart. So this was the first pattern in her Handmade Sock Society. And I love doing these. I was so glad to see her bring this back. And unfortunately, I only got to knit 1 pair. But I did finish them. Her version is quite a bit longer, but I made these a shorty set. They are made with Cascade Yarns Heritage Sock in the colorway 5631, and they are just a very fun textured top. So I think they'll be nice as a summer sock. They're also very nice as a winter sock. They're just absolutely lovely. It was a beautiful and fun knit. I started it on May 4th and unfortunately didn't finish it until September 5th because other things just kept coming up, but we finally got it done, and I love these socks. Next knit was another dish towel for the camper, and this one was Dish Towels by Karen DeMeller Lawrence. This was knit in Knit Picks Dishy Multi in the colorway Herb Garden, and it is absolutely perfect for my camper. Started this on August 26th, finished it on September 30th. So very fun knit, and I will definitely be knitting more of these because I have a nice cotton stash that needs to be used up. So the next pattern was the beginning of a downward spiral to me sticking to my knitting plans for 2023. Rhinebeck happened and Andrea Mowry released a beautiful tessellated vest for Rhinebeck, and I fell in utter love with it and knew that I had to knit it. So this is my tessellated vest, and I spun the colored bits. The white is Briggs & Little Sport, 1-ply Sport. The gray fuzzy bits are a fuzzy alpaca from Fiber Stash. And the colored bits are all Cheviot yarn, Cheviot fiber that I spun. It was a natural Cheviot fiber that I dyed in a crock pot, and then I spun it fractal style. And the idea was to have it represent the 4 houses of Hogwarts. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and so I made these beautiful colors to represent those houses. And then what I did is I just knit, I believe it was 9 rows of each color, and then at the top I just sort of finished it off with the Gryffindor. So this color was my interpretation or inspired by the Ravenclaw house. This was inspired by Slytherin. This was inspired by Hufflepuff, and then the top was inspired by Gryffindor. It was super fun to knit. The only modification that I made is I did make it a bit longer here because I did not want it to be right at waist. I wanted it to be more like right at hip. And it's not quite as long as I wanted it to be, but it is perfect. I love it. It looks great with a button-up shirt underneath. And I love everything about it. I did wear it to Rhinebeck and got to meet Andrea again. And got to have my picture taken in the sea of tessellated vests, and it was a remarkable time. So that was the beginning of my downward spiral. I started that on July 28th, and I finished it on September 30th. The next project I knit was the start of a new monthly subscription box that I get from Maine Fiber Workshop. And it is a breed study program that she has. Each month you receive an invoice for your breed, for your box, and she sends you fiber from a different breed. I opt for 2 4-ounce braids so that I have plenty of fun fiber to spin. And the first box was Lonk fiber. And this is a pillow that I made with my Lonk fiber. So the natural color is the undyed fiber, and then the other colors I dyed in the crock pot. So I took the 4-ounce braids and made 4 different skeins of yarn from them. And then, and then I dyed them and knit them. This is the Kivine by Alex Bird. And the back of it is knit in Briggs & Little, Regal, I believe. I wasn't sure I'd have enough fiber to do, usually it's started here and you go down and you go all the way around the pillow with the pattern. But I wasn't sure I would have enough, and I didn't want to chance not having a big enough pillow. So I opted to make the front part of the pillow and then do the back in the Briggs & Little. It is not done. This is the last little bit that I have to do up. I don't have enough stuffing for it, so I am waiting to get some stuffing and then I will finish that off. I'm considering it an FO because the knitting is done. That's my story and I'm sticking to it. So that was started on September 5th and I finished it on October 9th. My next knit was Dylan's Rhinebeck sweater. My granddaughter Dylan went with me to Rhinebeck this year, so she needed to have a sweater. And I had some yarn that I had got from Shirley's. Yes, from Shirley's in Windham, Maine. I got it on the yarn cruise this past summer. So I started this on October 9th and finished it on to October 15th. So just in time for Rhinebeck. It is knit with Universal Yarns. The yarn is called Major. And the colorway is Caladium, and it is so perfect. It's a little bit big for her, but she will wear it for quite some time. I knit the size 6, and the sweater is called 3224 Child Sweater by Plymouth Yarn Design Studio, and it does have a hood. The only modification is I decreased a little bit of the stitches for the hood because it was looking like the hood was going to be too big for her. In hindsight, I don't think it would have been. I think it would have been fine, but she loves it. She picked out her own buttons. We took a trip to the local yarn store and she picked out her own buttons, and it is a beautiful cozy sweater. Her brother actually loved it so much, he wanted one. So I did have another supply. I was going to make him a sweater as well anyway, so I decided to go ahead and make him the same sweater. He tried his sister's on, and it was a perfect fit, except for the sleeves were too short. So I did the same size, and I just did extra, I think I did an extra 2, might have done an extra 3 inches on the sleeves. But this is his. I did not make the modification on the hood, and the hood fits him perfectly. And this colorway is Underwater. It's the same yarn, Major by Universal Yarns, same pattern. And the buttons, he also went to the yarn store and picked out himself. So they turned out great, and the kids absolutely love them. They stay here at Nana's house. I keep my house a lot cooler than they keep their home. So they come in, they take their jackets off, and they put the sweaters on, and it's perfect. His sweater, I started on October 17th, and I finished it on October 24th. Okay, we're almost there. The next pattern was the pattern that I made for my husband for Christmas. He is a huge Sasquatch fan. So I made him the Lorelai's Bigfoot hat by Michelle Reiber. And I knit this from October 1st to October 27th. Super fun to knit. I don't remember what the yarn is, and I didn't put it on my project page. I believe it is a Cascade, I think. But it came out great. It is super cute. It fits him perfectly. It has the Sasquatch, and it is so funny and so cute, and he absolutely loves it. Last year I made him a beer mug beanie, and this year it was sassy, and he does love it. My next knit project was the Lemme Cowl by Laura Nelkin, and this was knit out of a hand spun yarn. It's a camel down yarn that is absolutely so luxurious. It is super soft, very lightweight, but very, very warm. And as you can see, the cowl is just absolutely perfect. It has a little more drape with the beads on it at the top, but it is super, super warm for such a lightweight cowl. As you can see, there's these little beads here. This is in the Lemme stitch that it's sort of named after. It's got some great cabling going on. I think I messed up and did a cable the wrong way at some point during the cowl, but you can't really tell. It's still beautiful, and I love it. I started this on October 3rd, and I finished it on October 31st. This was actually a knit that I exclusively knit at work on breaks and lunches. And because it was such an easy, memorizable pattern, it took no time at all to finish. So I do absolutely love this. And I have plenty of this yarn left, so there might be another one in the future. So then the next derailer came along, which was Helen Stewart's Knit Vent. I love participating in Knit Vent. I love her patterns. They're usually very quick and easy to complete patterns, but this year there was just so many distractions and so much going on. I don't think I fully enjoyed the Knit Vent process like I normally do. I don't even think I've posted these in her Ravelry group yet. But I did finish a few of the patterns in the series. This one was the Turkish Delight shawl, and I absolutely love it. I used Frolicking Feet Treat as the pink color, and then the whitish color was a Yarn to Die For design. I don't remember what the colorway was. I didn't put it on my project page. I did run out of the Yarn to Die For design towards the end of the shawl and had to sub in some hand spun. But it got the job done. You can't really tell the difference. It's a little bit lighter on that one end where the hand spun begins. This was a lovely knit. I loved these sections of garter stitch where you kind of get a rest from the lace, but the lace is super easy to memorize, and it is a lovely, soft, squishy shawl. It can be knit in DK, or I used 2 fingering held double, which is what the pattern suggests, but you can do it with just 1 DK yarn if you want it to just be one color. I believe the original shawl was held with a mohair, but I chose to do two regular fingerings and have the marled effect, and it turned out lovely. I started this on November 3rd and finished it on November 14th. The next pattern is also a Helen Stewart knit vent pattern, and this one I began on November 16th and finished on November 22nd. It is the Hot Spiced Cider Cowl, and this has a similar stitch pattern to the Trifle Wrap, which is the first pattern in the series, which we'll get to in a bit. But yeah, it was super fun to knit. Again, a very memorizable pattern. It is a nice, warm cowl. I knit this from a pumpkin spice fiber that I got in a Fiber of the Month Club box, hand spun yarn. And then I held it double with a yarn undyed lace weight super kid mohair and mulberry silk. And it turned out really, really lovely. I do love it. I did run out of the hand spun at the very end, literally the very end, like the last little tiny bit of cast off, and I just cast off with just the mohair and it's fine. And it is super warm, super yummy, and I love this. And the next pattern is also a knit vent pattern, and this is the Marzipan Mouse Hat by Helen Stewart. And it is this cute little hat with these little mouse ears on the top. The yarn is Hypnotic Yarn Plush DK and Born to Stand Out. I used about half the skein, so I could knit another one. I knit the child's size. It fits me quite well. It's a little bit big on Dylan's head, so I think with my gauge I should probably go down a needle size or go down a hat size. But it's super cute, super cozy, and Dylan wore it as the Not a Creature Was Stirring, Not Even a Mouse in our little 'Twas the Night Before Christmas play on Christmas. So it is a fun little hat. I started this on November 24th and finished it on November 29th. The next pattern I do not have either because it was gifted. These were hats that I made for a coworker's daughter, and I made them out of the same yarn that I made Dylan's sweater, the Universal Yarn Major in Caladium. And I just made some basic hats. One had a ribbed brim and a stockinette hat, and the other one was ribbed all the way through. And he just needed a simple, quick knit, so that was what I chose for them, and I hope they enjoy it. I started those on December 8th and I finished them on December 10th. The next pattern is the Magic Sea Captain Watch Hat, or is loosely based on that pattern. The kids wanted to go outside and play in November. We had a very unseasonably warm November, but it's hunting season, and we do have many hunters that hunt our property and the adjacent properties. So I didn't want them to go outside without orange on, blaze orange, and we didn't have anything. So I had a hat that nobody wore because it was not knit very well. It was out of proportion. It was not gauge swatched. So I ripped it out and I made 2 kids' hats. So this one, it's the stitch count is from the Sea Captain Watch Cap, but instead of doing the ribbed, I did a stockinette and made it a little bit more of a slouchy hat on Dylan. And so that's the one that I made for Dylan. And then this one is the one that I made for Lincoln, and this is straight out of the pattern, exactly how the pattern is meant to be knit. And I think the size that I did was a child's size. I can put it on, but it's quite snug, so it's definitely made for a child's head. And the yarn is a Briggs & Little Hunter Orange or Blaze Orange, something like Blaze Orange. Or, is it Briggs and Little? It's either Briggs and Little or Bartlett. I think it's Briggs and Little. It's Briggs and Little. Briggs and Little, and as a Blaze Orange. Another project that I did, I don't have really a start or end date for, is dishcloths. I try to make a series of dishcloths every year. This year, I think I had 6 or 7 that I completed. Many of them ended up in the camper. I didn't really keep track or count, but I'm going to try to be more diligent about that next year. So they're just basic cotton dishcloths out of whatever cotton I happen to have on hand. It's usually either Lily Sugar and Cream or Knit Picks Dishy. The last big project I did was my 2023 Advent wrap. And this was loosely based on the Cozy Comfort Throw. And I made it a wrap instead. The yarn is Plymouth Yarn Surrey Stratus is the sort of the mohairy bit of yarn. I held that double with Wee County Yarn mini balls set that my sister Julie gave me. And they are absolutely beautiful. So I knit them in the pattern in the order that I got them. And it made this beautiful, luscious, amazing, colorful wrap. And I absolutely love it. I loosely based it on the Cozy Comfort Throw. I cast on half as many stitches and I just held it double with the mohair and it came out lovely. It's literally you just knit. That's all it is. You knit every row. So it worked up very quick, very nice. It's a lovely throw. I can put it over my shoulders and it goes across my lap and keeps me nice and cozy and warm. That was all of the things that I made in 2023. I mentioned about the Knit Vent Window 1, the Trifle Wrap by Helen Stewart. And I did begin this in 2023, October 27th, and I just finished this yesterday. So here it is. And I mentioned this when I talked about the spiced cider cowl, that the pattern was very similar, and you can see that here. This is a huge wrap. It just goes on. It is so big. I haven't weaved in ends yet. It is just scrap yarns, mini skeins, things that I had leftovers of. And I held it double with yarn undyed, lace weight, super kid mohair and mulberry silk. And I actually cast off 75 rows early because I just couldn't do it anymore. It was so much fun to knit. I love the pattern, but it just seemed like it was taking forever. And it already is just so long. So I think it's done. It's super cozy and super warm and I love it. So that is the last pattern, a bonus pattern, if you will. So what are my thoughts on my knits for 2023? I think I definitely got pulled in by fear of missing out and knit a lot of things that are wonderful, and I am glad that I knit them. However, I have a lot of really great projects that have been waiting in the wings for several years that I need to get done. So I am trying very hard to stay out of the new shiny things and concentrate on what I already have. That is my one and only goal. I do want to not begrudge myself a lovely knit or knitting some things that would bring me joy that are new. However, I really want to get focused on getting those baskets emptied. Right now, I only have on the needles the Tricera socks, the socks for Kayla. I have 2 charity knits, 2 charity crochet blankets that are almost done. And then I did cast on one new thing, a Thusa Cozy. This is being knit in a Yarn to Die For design and dancing, held double with Dancing Pony Sheep Farm. And this is going to be a cozy for my hot water bottle. I use my hot water bottle for everything, and it's got a very thin cover on it. So this will make a nice thick wool cover that will be perfect. So after those are completed, I can dive into that basket and get some of those older whips completed, and I can't wait to see what 2024 brings. Let me know in the comments if you have any knitting goals or making goals that you are trying to accomplish in the coming year, and we will try to get there together. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time. Bye.